Dostar Salem. Сегодня у нас необычный подкаст. And then I will switch to English from here.
Sure.
Hello everyone. Today is a very special episode for our podcast. We're here in Jakarta, a very sunny day in Jakarta. I think this is like a trip that was to come for like entrepreneurs, IT professionals, for corporates as well. Today we have as a guest Edward Chamdani.
Chamdani.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Venture capitalist
Yes.
and Yernar. Yernar is from originally from Kazakhstan, founder of Komunitas99,
Right.
like a hub for
Central Asian startups.
Central Asian startups that are looking for opportunities here.
Speak good Indonesian already.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I have to. There's no any reason. Like
Yeah.
9 years, almost 10 years, live here.
So
And,
you're used to the traffic jam here.
oh yeah.
So Edward, just briefly tell us about your background,
Okay, sure.
especially professional background.
Okay, yes. So I've been in the venture capital sector for I think more than 12 years, since 2011. Previously, I was working for IBM in Indonesia, and then in 2002, I decided to create my own startups. Yeah, so there are several startups that I started more towards software development, system integrators, and then I exited my third company in
Great.
in 2007, and then I realized at the time that having a startup our own, and especially getting a good partners is very difficult. So I decided from 2010 that I started consult enterprises in
Right.
Indonesia. So like Post Indonesia is a postal service owned by the government, and then Telkom Indonesia in 2010, and then I met my partner, my VC partner Andi Budiman at the time, and then we set up the digital consulting company. Luckily, I met my childhood friend who used to be still right now owning one of the largest PE in Indonesia. So he told me at that time in late 2010, saying that Indonesia at that time was the 3G penetration started to picking up, and then the smartphone penetration, especially with the iPhone. So he said to me that why don't you convert Ideosource as a digital consulting company into a venture capital, and that is the very good timing for us to start the venture capital, and it proved to be. In 2012, when we invested in our first investment, 2011, late 2011, we partially exited the company with a 7x return immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
gaming company called Touch10. Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually pathed us into a formal fund of Ideosource in 2014 at the time. Yeah. So yeah, that's the background of myself to becoming a venture capital, and the best investment we had in Indonesia was in 2015. Yeah, there was eFishery, the company that focused on the IoT for fish feeding, and then there is Stockbit also. That one of the product is Bibit, is a wealth management application for the millennials, young generation. Yes. So both, actually, we were the first investors in both companies, and it provided us with close to 100x return.
Wow.
So it was
huge.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
That's huge.
Yeah. So that's the background.
So you already exited from the firms?
We still own a partial shares, several shares in the company, on both companies right now.
So they're not still public, yes?
I'm sorry?
They're not still public.
They're still private, but they're unicorn already. One is around 1.4 billion, and the other one just, passed the curve of being unicorn.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
About to be.
Yes.
Unicorn.
Hopefully, yeah.
Unicorn. It's
yeah.
very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about like maybe some general trends over here.
Okay, sure.
Especially your, through time from 2015, you said that
Yes.
it was best timings, and then I've heard yesterday that last year was also very good for
Mhm.
VCs, and now
Mhm.
it's like a bit of a downturn.
Yes.
Can you just like briefly explain
Okay.
the trends over here? Okay.
Yeah, the market correction actually aligned with what happened globally. As we know, end of 2021, there was a downturn. Many of the global stocks went down, and actually it affect most of the growth startup in Indonesia, whereby the benchmark of the valuation, many of these privately owned startups, although they're at the unicorn, sometimes decacorns, they have to downsize or down round their valuation. Yeah. So that's the not so good. The market correction is happening. But as far as the market in Indonesia, we are still growing. For example, in the e-commerce space, every year, although we are maturing, we still have 20% CAGR, in terms of the growth of the sector itself. But that actually, because we have a huge population, 280 million population, and the young generation or the demography surplus we have is, I think, is around until 2025. The peak is 2025, and then slowing down in 2045. Yeah. So it means that as a country, we are very productive with many young generations. So it's actually the timing is right now for most of the investors, startups, and venture capitalists to invest during this period. And I'm also part of the the association, venture capital associations. Yeah. So we have, I think, around 80 members. Most of them are local venture capitals, regional venture capital, sometimes global, that focus on Indonesia. And I think, again, the timing is right now. And many of the sectors are actually not being unlocked, meaning that if I mention e-commerce, e-commerce is common. Anywhere in the world, there's e-commerce right now, right? But especially in sector whereby Indonesia has potentials, and many of the regional or global investors, they may not understand the culture and also the potential.
Right.
Probably almost like Kazakhstan. I heard that Kazakhstan is the 9th largest countries in the world in terms of the land banks. Right. Indonesia is quite huge also in a way. It's probably combining the archipelago and the ocean. We might be close, at the size of United States actually. Yeah. Yes. So it's huge. And because of that, if you see many of the investment is only happening in capital cities, in Jakarta, definitely, and several cities in Java Island. So Java Islands is just a portion of the size of Indonesia, right? But 70% of the population residing in Java Island.
In Java.
Yeah. So we have investment probably close to Jakarta, 2 hours from Jakarta, like probably 2 hours from Jakarta is there's a second largest investment in terms of the startup. There is also Jogja in central Java. But overall, if we see the potentials of outside of Java Island, still huge, especially in natural resources, in agriculture, in human capital themselves. If we can actually improve the education, like your startup also, definitely we have plenty of opportunity, not just in capital cities.
Right.
Yeah. I know that some like sectors of technology are hot, like AI, etc.
Yes.
Can we speak about like something special for Indonesia? Maybe some, directions are hot because of especially in Indonesia because like of population, etc. Can you tell us about like some trends here in investments as well?
Yeah, you mentioned artificial intelligence, AI. So we follow what is happening as far as the trend globally and also in the region. But definitely we are lacking some of the deep tech and the human capital talents in Indonesia. So that's why we need to actually source from other countries as well. So for example, there's initiative by my firm, venture builder called Dostar Venture. What we do is we partner with a Singaporean venture capital and also China, talents and also companies. Happens to be represented by Belt Road Initiative, head of Belt Road Initiative for this region. And the purpose is actually source some of the intellectual property, for example, in agriculture. If they have some technology, a full cycle implementation in China, that we can actually park the intellectual property in Singapore and then implement it in Indonesia because it's a huge opportunity and land banks that we have here. Yeah. So that's one example how we shorten the gap among the trend itself and also the talents and the intellectual property that we might not have yet. Yeah. So in case of e-fishery, it's a very, very simple technology whereby what they implemented is just like, two sensors with the purpose of the identifying whether the fish are, hungry or not, right? Whether they move or they're still chewing, and then combining it with the cloud data. Yeah, so there's insights from the cloud data capturing all the information from these IoTs. Proved to be quite effective in giving the risk profile of its ponds and its potential harvest of the fish. So just this technology alone can actually disrupt the whole value chain of these smallholder farmers in fishery in Indonesia. So they cover 70,000 smallholder farmers in fishery, and they have implemented more than or close to 300,000 devices throughout Indonesia. And that alone actually disrupt the feedstock for the fish, the fish feeds, and also the financing for smallholder farmers because of the risk profile being captured by the data analytics. The more fintech, more banks, and more financial institutions are willing to provide funding or loans to these smallholder farmers. Yeah. And because of that, the whole value chain and the whole industry flourished because of these simple technologies. Yeah. And the good thing is that now they're able to actually export it to the US, Canada, and Japan. Of this.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe other like industries that are booming in Indonesia. I heard yesterday that fintech is very promising direction here as well.
In the past 2-3 years, it's been
influence marketing as well. Can you tell about very hot topics like in 2023? You mentioned yesterday that you are starting Star Venture program in January. What kind of startups you looking for in this program?
There are several pillars. I only remember probably 3 of those. But my team, they're developing more pillars. For example, we have a pillar that focuses in the agriculture and also a bit in covering also the environmental and social aspect of this pillar. And then the second pillar is in the health sector. We provide application to connect more to the insurance company. So it's more like an insurtech as well. And there is a third pillar in real estate. We provide funding through the structure of crowdfunding and combining it also with the blockchain. And there is also in the education. Yeah, we do one pillar also in education. So we create several holdings actually, and the purpose of this holding is to actually improve the whole value chain of the pillar, and ultimately this holding company will be listed locally in Indonesia, so that more investors are willing to invest in this holding company.
But how it works? Like you will accept founders, teams with idea, without idea, or
So yeah, it's good questions. So the model is, if you're familiar, about a decade ago, there is a rocket internet.
right? Yeah.
Right? Rocket internet. The idea is you have an idea, meaning the rocket internet themselves, the idea, the vision, and the mission of the company, and then they recruit talents, right? So this is actually aligned with what happened in Indonesia. Sometimes the startup, or even the venture capital and the investors, they may not understand what area is potentials for Indonesia, and it's sometimes also, although they understand, they're unwilling to invest because the gap between the investment and the time for a follow-on investors to be interested in the venture, it may take some time. In the case of e-fishery, because it's on the upstream side of the sector, we were the first investor, and we have to wait 4 years until e-fishery reached to a third version of their
Okay.
device. Yeah. So same thing like this. The idea is for us to invest first, and then create the whole value chain together with the entrepreneur in residence. So in a private equity, there is what we call entrepreneur in
Right.
residence, right? So it's same like Rocket Internet. They invite the talents to lead and the management to lead, and then once at a certain stage, they invite more investors to come in. So it's the same thing. Yeah.
Is it possible to share like equity distribution?
Sure. Yeah.
It's not
What I
confidential.
heard from I think from what I know, like the Rocket Internet model, the 90% is owned by
Right,
Rocket Internet,
right.
right? 10% by all the talents.
Yeah.
With our case, we don't want to do that. Yeah, we want the entrepreneur in residence to own a lot more.
Okay.
So at least from the Star Venture, we want to own at least 50%. Yeah. And the 50% can be divided to
Right,
the angels and also the entrepreneur in residence. Why 50%? Because we need to console. Yeah. If we decided to list the company, we need to console the financials. We need to console also the control of the holding company.
Actually, why I'm asking, I learned some like these business models, and we try to implement in Indonesia or in Central Asia. So there is actually one concern. If you have, let's say, 50%, so how about like other rounds? I don't know, like a C, 3A.
I think
and
you
it will be
have-
some,
Yes.
this
Yeah,
kind
you
of
have undergo
other
all this
investor
process.
will be,
Yeah, a lot of questions. Yeah, with the potential investor or follow-on investors with that structure. But what we do is that we talk to the founder themselves. Yeah, at one point, because the structure of the Star Venture and the holding company, there is also the subsidiary company, right?
like spin-off probably. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I mentioned about the stake in these, subsidiary level is still owned by a lot of the entrepreneur in residence. Yeah. But ultimately, the holding company need to be listed, right?
Okay.
So what we do is either we list the company at the subsidiary level first, or we list the company at the holding level.
At the holding.
Yes.
Okay.
But doing both at the subsidiary and the holding level, ultimately we need still own more than 50%
Right.
at the subsidiary level to be able to console, right? So we can actually play in terms of the ownership at the subsidiary level. If say we want to own 100% of this company at the holding level, we can actually invite them to move their stake or swap their shares at the holding level. Yeah. That's what we do.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So when you list a holding company, so shareholder of that holding company is like basically holding an ETF for your
In
portfolio.
a way, yes,
Yeah,
yes. It's a pool of assets. Yeah.
Full of startups. Yes.
Pool of startups.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know that when we go to the capital market, all the financial investors, they always see whether your financial numbers ratio are
Ratios, yeah.
good. Yeah. So we need to combine the story, but we also need to ensure that the traction in terms of the financial performance is actually growing. Yeah.
Do you accept foreign?
Oh yeah. In Indonesia, we are open.
Foreigners,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And there is a
Based
tax
in Indonesia,
incentive.
must be based in Indonesia or
No,
outside?
No,
Ah,
outside
so
is
you're
also
open,
possible.
right?
Yeah. It's
That's
and there
nice.
is a tax incentive also.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think, it can be very good opportunity for our talents from our region.
Sure.
Because based on my experience, we came here like 2014. So without local partner, it's very complicated to
Yes.
to to do business here.
So the link will be below the video.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah,
I think
and-
it apply everywhere. Yeah?
Yeah.
You need a local partner that knows the condition, the culture, and then the network, the right
Right.
part, the right insight that is given to you also. Yes.
And actually, it's the best. Best way like to start business here through some acceleration programs or
Yes.
incubators. Yeah, for foreigners.
Yes.
One question. In case startups are applying for your Star Venture program, can they like register subsidiary or new company here? If they're like existing startup over there, doing good, but they want to enter the market, so is it okay if they set up a new company here and then enter the Star Venture program? What do you think?
Unfortunately, Star Venture, like I mentioned, is more like a rocket internet. So we are more selective in terms of the initiative that we want to do.
Right.
So we are unlike the Y Combinator, for example. Y Combinator accepting all startups, and they have the a very structured programs, right? Star Venture we still don't have because we want to focus mainly on the vision and mission and the pillars that we focus on. So definitely we can help. Yeah, just like yesterday and the gathering. I can actually be part of the giving insights of what happened in Indonesia, right? And also opening up networks. And if say from several startups that I met, and there are several also that I'm interested to be engaged because happens to be that it falls under a potential synergy with some of the pillars that is under Star Venture. Yeah, so definitely I can help, but or we can help, as an organization, but not or unlike the YC or the Y Combinator programs.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully there is one together with you guys.
So also my next question was like, what are expected for like residents? Are they expected to go through education program first, or like just like working like?
Right now is more a close mentoring. Yeah, so we don't have many pillars yet. Yeah, so I'm still able to actually together with my partner to mentor one-to-one among the initiative and it's also subsidiary that we have. Yeah, so it's more like an active mentoring right now.
Maybe other questions.
Yeah, so for me as a startup, it's very important that I see the potential here, and we've been talking to some digital agencies, and they're willing to actually like kind of partner with us and all. But first of all, we need to set up. So I have no idea how to set up here. Like, should I go to Singapore? Should I do it here? And secondly, how we can partner with local people and local companies, because I know some say that we need to partner like within the local companies and it should be like 51%. At the same time, I know that there are other things how we can manage it. So can you please share for startups, especially who are coming here and have to do first traction, how the best way to set up here and like establish yourself and partner. This is also very important for me to understand how to partner properly with local companies. So it's like we are both like in a safe position and also like win-win position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. To answer your questions, I need to make some assumption also that the startup, the direction, the market size, the the states of the product and development already suited for Indonesia. Yeah. So assume all are actually aligned in terms of the states that you reach already. The first thing that I think what you need to do is you mentioned Singapore. Yeah, Singapore happens to be a very popular jurisdiction for investment in this region, and the reason is because of the service that they're giving in terms of the industry, the financial industry services are already established, the regulation are already established. So is giving a more comfort for all the investors to put their money in Singapore jurisdiction. It doesn't mean that Indonesia, we are not improving. We are improving definitely as part of the venture capital associations. There is a financial authority regulators in Indonesia that they're trying to provide similar services and also regulation as though like in Singapore, but it's still in the process right now. But yes, I think you need to set up like a subsidiary in Singapore and then also in Indonesia. Yeah, that entity in Indonesia. So you need to set up Singapore to own, ideally is 100% of Indonesian entity. So whoever partner that you have in Indonesia, it's better for you to invite them to invest in the Singaporean holding entity so that you are able to 100% own the Indonesian local entity. But you need to be careful also in terms of the sector that you are in. There is also a negative list in Indonesia for certain sector. For example, like in the venture capital, at this time, there is only a maximum of 85% if you're a venture capital that would like to set up in Indonesia. So 15% need to be owned locally. So depending on the sector that you are in, you can actually structure it in a way that the negative list is in compliance. Yeah. And then the other aspect is because your holding company or the HQ is in Kazakhstan, you need to also understand when the investor is interested to invest in you, whether they invest in at a Singaporean level or in Kazakhstan level. If there is a Southeast Asia investors and they see you're growing in this region, and then you told them to invest in Kazakhstan, they may not be willing to invest in a region that they are not familiar.
May I ask, for example, we are based in Kazakhstan, but actually our company is established in Delaware. So we have...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how about that? I mean, I know anyway we have to open in Singapore, but regards, like, I think there might be startups who want the investors to invest in the Delaware.
Yes.
So how about that overall in like Indonesia?
Delaware should not be a problem.
Yeah.
It's a common jurisdiction for majority of investors. Yeah. So although they're Southeast Asian venture capitals or private equity, they're accustomed to the Delaware jurisdiction as well. So not an issue. Yeah.
Okay. And in regards to, I got that we need to see a list of like how much equity you should own or you should provide to the local partner. But in terms of not equity, but like partnering just with like agencies and all, is it like usually like revenue share kind of thing or like?
Yes. So there is two type of arrangement that you can create with your potential partners. Yeah. Initially, what I'm suggesting is more like a joint operation. Mm-hmm. So meaning that there is no JV, there is no entity that you create upfront. Yeah. So it's more like an agreement for the profit and loss. And in Indonesia, you can actually create those what we call KSO, or joint operation. And joint operation agreement is allowed in Indonesia. And
Without setting up companies.
yeah, without setting up a company, and this agreement allows you to create a separate bank accounts and having a separate tax ID. Yeah, so it's a more I think loosely coupled. Yeah, that you definitely want to see the chemistry and also the successful of your joint operation. So once you reach a certain level that you're comfortable with the partners, is more like a B2B partners, then you can talk more of a joint venture. Yeah.
And they're willing to do so?
In terms of the local partners,
Yeah.
it depends. Yeah, it depends on the. So it's more like a B2B. Yeah, first, and usually whatever you put in the joint operation agreement in terms of the share cut, for example, like 50-50, you can bring it into the joint venture structure as well. Yeah. If you're comfortable with 60-40, perhaps in the joint venture will be a 60-40.
What is the common structure here?
50-50 should be, it's
Maybe
fair for everyone.
I'll share my experience as well, because we
Yes.
we established lots of companies here, like PTPMA, like this with the-
PTPMA, yes.
with the foreign investments, right?
FDI,
let's say. So you have to understand must be at least 2 shareholders, and also, as you mentioned, that it depends on industry. So it will be allowed to have 100% of ownership for
Yes.
foreigners or not. There is some industries, let's say financial companies, like financial industry. Yeah, there is some limitation.
Yes.
And one more point is paid up capital, which is 10 billion rupiah right now. It's maybe 650 something thousand dollars.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah.
Minimum, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of startups, even like mature startups from overseas, they are not really comfortable with this structure, because they still don't know product market fit, let's say, right? So their product, even they are matured and generates revenue outside, it doesn't mean they can do it in Indonesia. It's quite different, let's say, very unique economy and different, I would say, like a different planet, I would say, in terms of how to do business here, right?
Yes.
So that's why it's very important to validate your idea first. So that will provide within our hub, Komunitas99. So we try to do some pilots with startups. Once they prove they get first traction, after that they can consider to establish company. Because by the end of the day, you have to be legally here. Right?
Yes.
It doesn't mean it will be not legally, but it's kind of you can use the existing companies here to get first traction. So this kind of approach for startups we recommend. Once they get traction, they can consider establishing a company.
Yep. It's true.
And because for big players with the huge investment plans, 10 billion rupees is nothing if you want to build a plant. But for startups, it will be kind of.
Okay. Yernar mentioned that as well. Yeah. So you also mentioned that the IT industry was booming from 2015, maybe a startup industry here.
2012.
2012.
2012, we see a lot
so
of
what was
events,
what were the pivot points? Maybe something changed in the government, strategy. Maybe can you briefly explain
I think
why did it happen and what was the pivot?
The condition of the market itself. Timing is everything. In terms of the being successful in any ventures. So the timing is right in terms of the like I mentioned, when we started, there was a moment whereby the 3G penetration and the smartphone use are common, and then the social media and so on. So those becoming like an infrastructure for many of the startup to venture into a new business model. So we know that during the 2012 all the way to 2014, 2015, e-commerce was the king in terms of the sector. And all the growth are happening during those period. And also because of the e-commerce boom, the logistic becoming popular at the time. So after the e-commerce wave, there is a logistic.
Sorry, it wasn't like vice versa, like because there's a Gojek and the last mile, it was really easy, so that's why
actually-
e-commerce. So okay.
Yeah. It's after the
I
e-commerce.
thought like logistic drove the e-commerce boom. No.
It is in parallel,
Okay.
in parallel into it, yeah. And then like Gojek, for example, and they started in late 2014, and the story is basically Gojek transformed their call center into an apps in 2014. So they developed the mobile application in 2014 and then launched it at the end of 2014. And immediately it was a success in terms of the inviting more a subscriber and also inviting more the rider, the Gojek rider. Yeah. So once it reached to a certain volume, then the platform is really successful to the point where I still remember February 2015, all the food delivery was killed by GoFood. Yeah, just within weeks. Yeah.
So I actually read on your website of Star Ventures that you are also looking for businesses that are very comfortable in offline, that want to go for online and become a startup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So offline to online,
Yeah.
vice versa. Yes. Excuse me. Yeah. So again, on the popularity of the sector is actually like I mentioned e-commerce and then logistic booming, and because of these two were quite happening at that time, fintech came also for the financing for the pay later in e-commerce and also to the other sectors. Yeah.
Maybe I will ask one question. So regarding how to enter the Indonesian market for foreign startups. Okay, we understand we need a local partner.
Yes.
But how about industries or verticals? Let's say I know some of examples that B2B, especially focusing on micro and like small entrepreneurs, it doesn't work. I mean, you can grow very fast. Like you
Yes.
can even onboard like millions of these merchants, let's say. But it's super hard to, maybe even not possible right now to monetize it. So you still believe like a B2B can be like for micro, right? It can be monetized. Maybe some tips for foreign startups how to soft land here. Maybe it's better like to focus on B2C.
I think
or
to
enterprise
becoming-
or enterprise level.
Yeah. Usually venture capitalists, they look into a business model whereby they're able to reach to a certain point that there is moat. Moat mean resiliency in the business model and also the sustainability of the business model itself. And the problem in Indonesia, if we just look into becoming a platform, of course there is supply and demand. Right? Demand definitely is huge. We have a population. We can also venture out as a cross-border transaction. Right. The problem with Indonesia is a lot more in the supply side. Yeah. So if you focus in the platform and you're forgetting that we need to actually also focus on the supply side in terms of the quality, in terms of the scalability, the sustainability. So the whole value chain need to be analyzed initially. Say if you want to focus in selling furnitures, right? You need to go all the way back into the source of supply of the wood itself. Yeah, because there is no point you set up this platform, but at the end, at certain point, you are unable to supply it at the standard that you initially set up.
So
Yeah.
you mean like it must be not only just part of this supply chain, but you have to
Exactly.
cover the whole.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there
This-
is
this-
a lot of
this
issue.
point, right.
Yeah. And that's happening in all sectors, especially in relying on the supply side, whereby the supply actually coming from Indonesia. That's why there is, if you see many of the e-commerce in Indonesia, they rely more on the product coming from, for example, China, right? And the government, of course, they're quite reluctant in supporting more importation and selling to Indonesia, whereby a lot of, like you mentioned, the smallholder, they're producing and they're being competed by, giants supplier like in China, right? So there's, if you see lately, there's a limitation on the regulation to open up TikTok, for example, to sell in their platform. Is the reason is because of that. Yeah.
Right.
Many of e-commerce also setting up the like a special zone for China product. Also, there's also limitation in Indonesia because simply to protect some of the producer in Indonesia. So knowing this limitation, if you own a platform and you want to scale, you need to understand at a certain point you are probably stuck because the supply are not according to what you see with the demand, the demand side. So there should be someone that you partner or yourself to solve those issues. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
How about regarding like co-investing? We were talking about the opportunities for IT startups. How about the investors from our region that are want to invest here, or like set up a fund maybe, or co-invest with someone? A few tips how to enter the market.
Yes, I think we need to also see what kind of investors, what kind of startups that enters and would like to partner in Indonesia. There is no definite or certain answers in terms of if, for example, you are a system integrator, right? If I were an investor like a venture capital to fund a system integrator or software development and then expect that there is liquidity in it, it may not be the case. Because we know system integrator, software development, especially in the B2B sector, we need to pitch, we need to submit the proposal, or we need to answer the proposal based on the RFP or request for proposal from the clients. So we see as a VC as a linear growth. There is no inflection point whereby, like previously we discussed platform. Platform is different. At certain point when you have a volume from the supply side and also the demand side, there's a possibility for us to inflect. There's an inflection point, right? A J curve. Yeah. That's what VC look for. But again, for investors that probably expect more, like, it's okay to receive just dividends at the end of the year. It's also okay. It's a good return. It's a good IRR also for them, right? So again, for foreign startup and also investors that would like to come in here, you need to analyze whether you are venturing into a venture capital space or more like a traditional investors that happy with the dividends type of non-equity returns. Yeah. So that we can analyze differently for both. Yeah.
I think that like startups that are planning to come here also will bring like their angels and their VCs from Kazakhstan to co-invest with the local VCs. So,
Okay, that's good. Yeah. That is a good combination that you can leverage the market in Indonesia and then bring it to Kazakhstan. Vice versa, also for the local Indonesian to actually get some talents, also IPs, and also probably market also in the Euro-Asia market.
Right.
Yeah. So
because I think if you are setting up an initiative or company here with a local partner as well, we need a local money. Okay.
yes. So there is interest for the locals also to help you. definitely. Yes.
But at what stage the local investors will be interested? I mean, there must be some local traction.
Maybe
or-
checks also.
Yeah.
Should we talk about checks?
Usually it starts with the opportunity.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if the locals see your product or your services, immediately he can actually link you up with an opportunity.
Mhm.
That is the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Like-
even there is no any Indonesian traction, but overseas is good. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So
That's-
it's important for you to meet the right person
right.
that has access to the market.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if
Let's
just
say unfair advantage, right? kind of.
yes, exactly. Just like I think after our meeting, sharing with all the startups that comes from Kazakhstan.
Yesterday. Right?
Yeah, and then yesterday I met one of the your reference, and then I met with them, and happens to be I see definitely the huge market in Indonesia for their product.
Okay.
That is we start from the opportunity first, then there is an excitement from the local partners to help you, and definitely after that we can follow on with the piloting and
Right.
traction there,
Right.
and then investment.
Can you give an idea about the sizes of like pre-seed seed rounds over here?
In our case, usually a minimum of 200,000 US. Yeah. Why 200,000 US? It can be like a consortium. Even with the 200,000, if there is co-investors, we can definitely also co-invest in. But 200,000 in Indonesia is usually as a startup, a very early stage startup, is enough for them to last their runway for 12 months to 18 months. And usually 18 months is ideal for any startup. Yeah. So the first 6 months to mature, to make the product and services mature enough. And then the second 6 months will be used for us to actually get more traction of the product. And then the third 6 months will be used for us to pitch to potential investors.
I think for the people who want to invest, like angel investors, first of all, they need like a deal pipeline over here. So maybe few steps how to enter like parties, VC angel parties, like you mentioned before, your association of venture investors. Maybe can you give a few tips how to enter like this community?
Yeah, there is several like crowdfunding site that source deals in Indonesia, and usually the company is headquartered in Singapore. So there is several crowdfunding startups that focus on that, and they are not just focusing on the early stage startup, but also secondary shares of a growth startup as well. But I think for angels to really get into the best opportunity is actually to network more. Because for my case, if we have a very good startup, definitely we have already a pool of LPs and also high net worth individuals that knows us from before, right? So definitely we prioritize them to invest in our pipelines, right? So we haven't really ventured into creating a platform or collaborating with any platform yet, but I think there is several that would like to actually collaborate with us. So definitely, if you have a platform in Kazakhstan that would like to tap into our pipelines, I can definitely work together with them and also open up more pipelines from our associations to partner with you, definitely.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Indonesia is really huge, right?
Yes.
So, and to become a unicorn, I mean, you even no need to go to outside, right?
Yes.
I think there's some like a pros and cons, right? Because like if we see like a Gojek case, they became a unicorn here in Indonesia, but once they started to go abroad, probably they faced some challenges. Yeah, they still like are trying to fix it, right?
Yeah.
Is it works like for VC industry as well? I mean, like, are you interested in deal flow outside of Indonesia, or it's like a good enough for you Indonesia and that's all? Like maybe you can, how to say, try other opportunities like in Central Asia or Eastern Europe, something, or?
I think it's more on whether the investment abroad will be synergistic to Indonesia. Yeah. It means, like I mentioned, if the collaboration and the investment is something that we don't have, for example, a deep technology or a pool of talents, definitely we are open to it. Which is what we are doing it right now. We are ready to invest in Singapore and also collaborating with the deep tech from China. And the purpose is actually that we can add value in terms of opening up the market in Indonesia.
I think it's really in line with our yesterday conversation in taxi, because kind of in Kazakhstan, it's a relatively small market. So we discussed with Ali B yesterday, and Ali B said probably the first unicorn from Kazakhstan will be outside of Kazakhstan.
No, most likely.
Most likely, I would say even less. So probably this is kind of in line, right? So let's say if Indonesian VCs and they can find some good like a technology IPs team, let's say in the kind of countries like Kazakhstan, and they can bring their technology to Indonesia, it will really boost, our startups. So.
Because I said yesterday that there are only two ways to become a successful startup in Kazakhstan. You either do with the government or with the big players, I mean enterprise level solutions, or you just scale very fast and venture out.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I think some of the countries that most of the startup from day one, they already focus globally. Like New Zealand, for example, there's only 5 million population, I believe. So definitely, as a startup from day one, what they think is that go global.
Just go global.
Ukraine as well.
Ukraine,
Belarus as well.
Belarus.
Yeah.
For example, EPAM or company EPAM.
They start
global
like
outsourcing.
outsource.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like
New Zealand,
40 billion valuation.
Oh yeah. Wow. Zero.
I think in this part of the world, we are more familiar with like Australian, Singapore. But this another question. Let's geographically, in Central Asia, we more focus on Europe and United States
good, actually,
markets. And just recently, probably like last 1 or 2 years, our startups, our government bodies, they start look like more
to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, for Southeast Asia. Based on my experience, the advantage of Southeast Asia is, of course, the cost to enter to these markets. It's way lower than let's say in the States. Sorry, and another point is the time difference. Surprisingly, why? Because it's just only. So the flight from Kazakhstan to we don't have direct flight, right? So it can take like up to 20 hours.
Oh my God! Yeah, just like going to US from Indonesia. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But just 1 hour difference. Maybe Bali. If we're talking about Bali, 2 hours.
Yes.
And it's really good for remote,
collaboration.
For collaboration,
True.
remote teams. Maybe other tips why Southeast Asia. Can be compete on the global talent markets. Like with the United States, with Europe.
I think it's very big mistake is like considering Southeast Asia like one. They're very different, like Philippines.
Yes, Thailand.
Very country specific. Yes.
Yeah. So it's happening also in the past 6 months. That even 1 year, that many of the investors, even in the US. So if you take a look, probably 10 to 15 years before, there are plenty of China startups that is listed in the US, mostly in NASDAQ. So the instrument that they use is called ADR. ADR is American Depository or something. So is an instrument whereby you can list the company without actually setting up an operational entity in the US itself. So, so those underwriters and the advisory services in the US now is looking into many of the startups in the Southeast Asia, because China right now, with all the limitation with the US-China relationship right now, and also many of the startups even in China themselves are not really supported. So we see a lot of these investors and also underwriter consultants coming into Indonesia, look for good startups in Indonesia. And again, China as a market now is not that popular again like before. India is very competitive. So investors definitely they look into the region whereby there's a lot of growth and also potentials. And when they go to Southeast Asia as the next target, then they see what is the contribution of Indonesia toward the Southeast Asia, and definitely is close to 40%, increasing to probably 50% among the Southeast Asia countries. But true, like what you mentioned, it doesn't mean when you cover one region in Southeast Asia means you can cover the neighboring countries, because the culture
You mean doesn't mean. Yes.
Sorry?
You mean doesn't mean.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't mean. Yeah.
You know,
Because
even
please. Yeah, the culture is different. The government is run differently. Also, it's a lot of complication in terms of even the understanding the customer behavior. So if you look at the FMCG giants like Unilever, P&G, they really know how to cover the Southeast Asia region, and they know every country's differences. Actually.
You know, sometimes Singapore, they consider themselves like as a door to Southeast Asia. But honestly, maybe if I'm wrong, just correct me, right? So in terms of structuring, yeah, this is really perfect place. But if they say like you can start business in Singapore and then easily, expand across the Southeast Asia, I would say it's not really.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like it's again,
Actually,
it's every country it will be a different story.
Actually,
I really
there
doubt.
was a post about like doing business in Southeast Asia, and the first first tip was like, if you are considering Southeast Asia like Southeast Asia, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
It should be separate countries.
Separate countries. Yeah, definitely.
And different roles, right? Singapore for all investments and protecting IPs and
Yes.
holding structure, and
Yeah.
others, like for
Even in
business.
Indonesia ourselves, it's 17,000 islands.
Islands,
Yeah, and thousands of dialects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, we
Ethnicities
have
as
Bahasa
well.
Indonesia to actually
As a standard language.
make everyone in Indonesia understand whatever we talk in Bahasa Indonesia. But even though, in culture in different cities are actually also different. So,
That's true, yeah.
So concluding, you also like committee in venture.
yeah, in Amvesindo is a
Association.
venture capital association.
Can you briefly tell about this association and what kind of opportunities, maybe some events or pitching sessions for startups they can like reach 80 members at one time, maybe?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have such event, regular event annually. We are trying to, but usually we support some of the events as an associations. For example, there is a regular annual event called Next Ticorn, Next Indonesia Unicorns. But unfortunately, only startup that has the traction, usually is Series B and above, can be invited into Next Indonesia Unicorn. But luckily, they starting this year, they partner up with the Ministry of Information. And Ministry of Information in Indonesia, they have an initiative, an event called Hub.id. Hub.id. So Next Indonesia Unicorn partnering with Hub.id, they cover the whole startup level, meaning from the Series A all the way to, or even pre-Series A all the way to the Series B and above. Yeah. So if you want to join up probably next year, usually second half, around August, September, and usually almost always in Bali. So it's good,
place,
perfect place. Yeah.
I just would like to
Келеміз ба?
Обязательно. So association in Indonesia, they play a crucial role. I mean, and as a big, how to say, like between the government, let's say, or regulators, and the industry. So before I came in Indonesia, I thought like association is just, I don't know, some fancy thing, nice to have. But yeah, here they play really important role.
Yes. Yeah. True.
Yeah. We have like a digital bridge in Kazakhstan, where like in capital we have an annual event, and also we have a Central Asian Venture Forum, where like all the VCs and startups meet at one day in the golf club.
Oh, okay. Is there like an association also in Kazakhstan?
We
It's
have
not
a
called like
government
an association.
agency
Oh,
who
government.
supports the develops and supports the startup ecosystem.
Oh, okay.
Called
Okay.
Astana Hub. So
And
digital.
also Most Hub.
I mean like the digital bridge. It's like in Astana, so it's organized by Astana Hub. The this event, CEFVF,
Central Eurasian
Venture Forum, let's say, it organized by Most Hub.
Okay.
That we organized trip of startups to Indonesia.
The person that I met yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they organized in Almaty. It's two huge events. I think.
I think these two events, like if you're gonna visit Kazakhstan at one time, just like plan it in summer. If it's in summer, it's Central Asian Venture Forum. If it's in winter, it's Digital Bridge.
Oh.
So just make sure
Yeah.
you visit them. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned there's I think 7th of
Please
June
come
event. Yeah,
next year.
7th of June
Okay.
event. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I told my team, if we have a definite collaboration, definitely I would be interested to come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Just let us know.
Okay, next year, let's organize the trip of
yes.
startups and VCs from Indonesia to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think, not only Kazakhstan, probably Central Asia as well. Like, so.
I think this year it was like Central Eurasia. We were also there were also companies and venture capitalists from Caucasus and Eastern Europe.
Okay.
So around 20 to 30 country.
So it's not only
representatives
Central
for-
Asia, right?
It's like called for Central Asian economy, but the investors come all across the world.
I see. Okay, that's good.
And also a digital bridge. Like it's not only for about VC, it's also for corporates, GovTech, etc.
Okay.
It's even bigger, and around 70 countries was represented this year.
Yeah.
Were represented this year, starting from US to Japan, like all
Nice.
across the world. Yes, big tech companies, Google, Microsoft as well. They all like meet in Kazakhstan.
Nice.
I think the only place where like Ukrainians, Russians, all of them like can meet, it's like Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Because you speak the language
Yeah.
also, right?
Language, culture, like we are very, very like,
Nice.
diverse.
And also, I think Kazakhstan and Indonesia, we are in a way the religion. I think 60% are Muslim, right?
I think it's more like
More,
even maybe probably 80% in Kazakhstan.
Oh, it's close.
Yeah.
Like Indonesia is also like more than 90%. So, yeah.
Because actually Kazakhstan has a role as a bridge. We are between Russia, China, and Europe. And historically it was like Silk Road. Was passing through Kazakhstan.
Yes.
That's why we have like IT hub in Silicon Valley. It's called Silk Road Innovation
Okay.
Hub.
And I think I heard yesterday that one of the startup that collaborate with you guys is Berry Pay or something. Yeah, Berry Pay.
Berry Pay,
Yeah, Berry Pay. And he gave a very good testimonial in terms of the digital gap or the IT talents that you have. Yeah, comparing even with the neighboring countries that mostly more popular in terms of the perception. So I think that's one area that I'm really interested. So it means that your education is really good, and then also the focus that you are in. I asked about the cybersecurity. You said there's a very good talents in that sector, in biotech also. So those are area that I think we are probably lacking. Yeah. Although we have a lot of diaspora that good students from Indonesia abroad, but I don't think that when they come to Indonesia there is a market for them, for those PhDs to actually venture in Indonesia. So that's why most of them are still residing in Japan, in Europe, and also in the United States. So I think as part of the investors community in Indonesia, I think we need to bridge the gap, probably inviting more talents and then create the industry. Once at a certain level, then we can invite more diaspora of Indonesia to come back to Indonesia.
Okay, I think it's time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So, okay.